Well, hi everybody, and welcome to this APMG live event. Shanice is over in the chat, so please let us know your name and the city from where you're joining, and we can get involved in the conversation. Don't forget, if you want to ask any live questions, please feel free, put them in the chat, and we'll get them over to the panel to answer live. So today we're going to be talking about the future of change management. There's a quote I really like from John F. Kennedy. He said, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past and the present are certain to miss the future." Never a truer word spoken, in my opinion. So effective change management has been proven to dramatically increase the successful outcomes of projects. And we're here today to discuss what the future of effective change management might look like. We've got two really experienced panelists joining us today. So let's jump right in and meet them. So welcome, Tizya and Nico. First, I'd like to start with Tizya. Hi. I'd first like to start with Tizya. Tizya is the project management technology lead at NetCampus, and she's a dedicated IT development and IT skills development project manager professional. And she's been in training for many, many years, I think with over 21 years experience as a program project manager and trainer in the national and international markets. So welcome, Tizya.
Thank you so much, Nigel. Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited about today's event and with NetCampus. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Great to have you here. And Nico Goosen is an executive head of business change transformation and portfolio management at ABSA. I think he started his career in banking 22 years ago with ABSA and has specialized in various senior management roles in product management, distribution channels, and customer segments. So welcome, Nico.
Thank you, Nigel. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to also connect this afternoon, and looking forward to chat to you.
Excellent. And I think with that, I can see lots of people over in the social stream and joining. There's tons of people. So, let us know where you're watching from. And we're going to come to you guys in a few minutes just to say a little bit more. But I think first, why don't we tackle our first question here? And this first question, Nico, is for you. It says, what challenges have you encountered post-pandemic in regards to change initiatives?
Thanks, Nigel. So I guess post the pandemic, we needed to make sure that we are learning as much as we can from how we've adapted to agile and remote ways of work. And that specifically we had to do to sustain our change delivery efforts during the pandemic. So I guess we had to learn quite a lot in terms of how to still make it work. Secondly, what comes to mind is we had to change the mix and how do we see our project portfolio. Significant change with regards to digital transformation. It's always been there. I think post the pandemic, it accelerated our focus with regards to that. And also how we were looking at customer behavior that also accelerate in a way in which they want to engage more digitally and more online, looking at journeys that are end-to-end, not breaking out in terms of applying for products and services, and also making sure those could be fulfilled. And then I guess post the pandemic, there was a new sort of focus with regards to innovation, product innovation that we could go to market with. Again, I think the pandemic hit us all where it was very new and very uncertain, and it forced us out of a comfort zone where we really had to focus on how do we get ourselves through this. And post the pandemic, that energy, I think, was something key to try and contain in a way that we can further accelerate change and transformation and how we think about change management. So a little bit of the benefit out of the pandemic that we think we could also take forward in this particular discipline.
Makes sense. And Nico, I guess, the banking industry was actually hit pretty hard, right, by the pandemic, if I remember right. It was one of those service industries which largely relied on people going into a bank, to conduct most of their business. I mean, a lot of it was online. But I think the post-pandemic, you guys have pretty much, digital transformation has been a key, hasn't it? And change management's been part of that.
Absolutely. I think all corporates have, or many corporates, banks specifically, have an online presence where we are making products and services available to customers. And I think post the pandemic, everyone is starting to evolve. And how do we think about online propositions and online journeys and our ability to also make this as seamless as possible? I guess the trick within that is making sure that when you're applying for a solution online, you have the opportunity to also fulfill it, and making that experience as simple and easy as possible. So that in itself, I think, created a bit new energy, and now we think about change and transformation digitally.
Fantastic.
In that context.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's moved a little bit from service level agreement style thinking to experience level agreement thinking, right? So how do you actually deliver an end-to-end experience to your consumers rather than, just we can do this in 2 days? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, Nigel, you are hitting the nail on the head there. So customer experience has been a significant focus, I think, prior to the pandemic. And I think we've really tried to make sure that as an industry, we are more fixated with that in how we deliver products and services through online channels. And then also the expansion of digital channels. If you also see what's currently happening in the market, there's a bit of evolution that currently sits there. And more customers are trying to also join and transact through additional online channels.
Excellent. So there's tons of folks over in our social channel today. So I just wanted to give everybody a shout out. So welcome, Charlotte. Ansel, hi, watching from Nigeria. And Ong also, not sure where you're watching from, but really great that you're here. And Shanice, hi, thanks, and see you later online. Wow, lots of people. So, Shamina from Johannesburg, currently an IOP intern. Good luck with that. That's really important. Yeah. Hi, Deji. Nice to see you here as well, watching from Cranfield, UK. Wow, people from all over the world here. Got Benindo watching from Ontario. So, wow, just tons and tons of folks watching online. It's great to see you all here. Really, really pleased. If you have any questions for the panel, just put them into the chat and our team will get them over to us to answer while we're live. Get them in early, please, because generally, folks, I know this is South Africa as well. We tend to put them in the last minute. And there's 10 questions at 5 to the hour and we have to finish. So get your questions in early and we'll get to them. Okay, so the next question I have here, Tizya, this one is for you. What is the importance of having a change management office and adopting a change model?
Hi, everybody. Yes, so Nigel, that's definitely a twofold question. I found with experience that organizations tend to think that, or certain organizations tend to think that change management is a temporary endeavor. But it is very important to actually, with budget allowing, to establish a change management office, because then you've got a dedicated team or office responsible for overseeing and managing all aspects of change initiatives within the organization. And it also ensures that change management is approached consistently and professionally across the organization. It also establishes accountability, because your change management office can establish accountability for change efforts, having a designated team responsible for change management. And it also actually becomes easier to track progress, measure success, and hold individuals or teams accountable for their roles in that process. Also, in terms of allocating resources for specifically personnel and budgets, for change management initiatives and activities, standardization, because a CMO can definitely, we can promote standardized methodologies, once again looking at a CMO framework. We've got Kotter's model, we have custom frameworks. It's important because then everybody actually understands what the framework is, what the guidelines are, and how change initiatives can actually be addressed. And it also forms a really big communication hub for crafting, communication plans and keep all stakeholders informed in terms of the progress and impact of change across the organization. But yes, I believe that just like a PMO, a change management office is quite crucial for any enterprise.
Tizya, thanks. I totally agree with you. I think it's a fairly new thing, though, for a lot of organizations in South Africa to think of actually implementing a proper change management office. When you look back a few years ago, there were hardly organizations that formalized the change management role. right? I mean,
Yes,
change management was
absolutely.
something you did on the side, and
Yes.
it wasn't your main job function, But nowadays we're seeing a lot more focus being put on organizational change, and I don't think it's any secret, folks, that if you have got effective change management in place, your project success rate will be far, far higher. And just in case anybody was wondering, having a change management office in place provides the support to the change management team that they need, and it will certainly improve your project success. So thanks for that. I think you're absolutely right there.
Thanks,
So,
Nigel.
yeah. So I think let's move on to our next question. And the next question, Nico, is for you. What do you think the future is broadly, we're speaking here, of change management in the financial sector compared to the way it was being done?
Thanks for the question there, Nigel. I think if you think finance or the financial sector, financial stability is critical to enable any economic system, and banks are at the heart of it. So you have to sort of consider a little bit of a backdrop with regards to that. If you also look at the financial landscape, I think it's evolving tremendously over the last few years. We see quite a lot of movement in terms of new legislation, new customer channels, new products and services, and new opportunities to investigate growth. We also see, if you think about the backdrop, still consumer behavior changing, where a lot of customers wants to make use of mobile solutions, whether it's buying food, groceries, clothing, health products. I mean, there's a massive growth with regards to the device and the need to also do more online shopping. And the backdrop still is, I guess, the increase in activities with regards to competitors. Banks and non-banks are all busy moving into the market. So that's a long sort of backdrop, I guess, from trying to answer your question. And you could probably add to that. When I then think about, I guess, the future of change management, the first thing that comes to mind is the ability of organizations, and I think where I come from, banking, to be as agile as possible in the way we think about solving for problems. I think it sits within creating agile ways of work. It's a culture of being agile and the opportunity to also adapt and change as quick as possible. We like to plan far ahead, and I think there's still value in continue to do that. I do think, however, we need to be able to also solve for problems as quick as possible, land those solutions within the market, appropriate change management that supports that, and then the opportunity to see what's changed and what's different. And to what Tizya, I think, referred to earlier on, continuously drive change and transformation in that context. And maybe my last point, as I also sort of reflect a little bit on the question, is about relevance. There's so much change that's currently happening in the markets, various markets and industries. I think organizations are pressured to be as relevant as possible, which then means that your change management capability needs to be as sharp as possible to get you either in the front or as close as possible to the front where you strategically want to be in terms of running that race. So I do think that's a focus that sits there.
Yeah, Nico, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head there as well. Don't worry, we're just having a chat here, no issues. Nico, the financial sector seems to me to be a very tough one to actually lead in today's world, right? Because there's a lot of opportunity, or has been a lot of opportunity over the last 5 years to change the way things worked in the financial sector. But what I do see is that there are some really innovative products coming out in the financial sector today, ironically, from the larger banks in South Africa. Whereas in the past, it was always seen, the larger banks in South Africa were always seen as the sort of, pillars and they were hardly ever going to change. But that seems to have changed very rapidly post-pandemic. Do you think that the approach that you guys are taking, specifically at ABSA, to change management, has had an impact on that?
I think from my perspective, we have over a period of time implemented a few new ways of work, practices, systems, processes, people, etc., to be able to feel more agile in a way in which we deliver change. So I think there's been a bit of change there, and it's a journey that will continuously evolve and improve. You walk into this, and it's something that doesn't just end within a year or 2 or 3. It's literally something that needs to mature, and when you reach a certain level, you know that there's a lot more to do. So I think there's a bit of work that we've embarked on with regards to that. And then in general, I think big banks are also coming out with a lot of solutions where if you look at them, I think they're broad and comprehensive. Sometimes these things take a bit longer, but by the time that they do hit the market, it's high quality, sophisticated solutions that fits within the regulatory framework, but also meets the needs and wants of customers. So big factory sometimes takes a bit longer, but by the time that they're through, you should be assured of a good quality product that should meet the standards that we're after.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I think that, one of those things is organizational agility, Nico, that is such a critical thing, right, to have in place. So I appreciate your answers. Really, really important. We can talk a little bit more about that just now. I think let's move on because the questions are starting to stack up now, actually. So Tizya, I've got a next question for you, if you don't mind. And
sure, Nigel.
This just looking at the future. What is the metaverse, and how do you think it's going to assist sectors in change management initiatives?
Yeah, it's actually quite one of the buzzwords, or one of the most words, just like the term AI, that's currently used in 2023. And it's important to understand what the metaverse really is. But metaverse, if we look at the definition, really refers to a collective virtual shared space, a digital universe where people or users can interact with each other, and also converse with digital objects in real time. And this concept is often associated with advancements in technology, particularly when we talk about virtual reality. Now, virtual reality has been around for quite some time. But also, sort of what's also spoken about is augmented reality. Now, if we look at virtual reality and augmented reality uses more of a real world setting, while virtual reality is completely virtual. So augmented reality users can control their presence in the real world, where virtual reality users are more controlled by a system. And virtual reality, you need a headset, where augmented reality, you can have an app on your phone. Now, how this actually affects or will affect changes or change management as per se, is I believe that the metaverse can provide more immersive engagement environments to communicate and collaborate between employees. If you've got, especially our situation currently, we've got so many teams that are geographically distributed, and they can actually all come, we can all come together in a virtual shared space, and that enhances our exchange of ideas and information during change initiatives. And I mean, not only that, but if we look at training and development, we can use the metaverse for employee training and development in a safe, and I like to use the term safe and controlled space, because that is what goes hand in hand with, the human aspect of change. People want to be in a safe, experience a safe digital space where they can then, embrace certain changes. So a lot of ideas and information can be shared. People can embrace the learning curve, get over that fear of the unknown. If we look at testing and prototyping as another example, we can really use the metaverse to create virtual prototypes instead of actual prototypes and test different scenarios. And I mean, the list just goes on. I mean, even if we look at the medical field, in using augmented reality, we can look at working on digital, if you want to call it digital bodies, without actually working on an actual body. So the list is endless in terms of what we can do, but we first need to understand what the metaverse is. But I do believe it is a way of driving changes in different sectors, and even the financial sector.
Well, folks, you heard it here first. Yeah, it's going to change the way we think about things, and I believe you're right to say. I think things are moving in this direction very, very quickly with the advent of artificial intelligence, and it's definitely something that we've got to look at. Yes, Tizya, go ahead.
So I just want to add something. While it has potential to assist all the sectors, as we've just mentioned, and change initiatives, it is also important to note that it still is a very new emerging concept with ethical challenges to address. So it should be done thoughtfully, considering things like data privacy, security, and also ensuring that the technology complements the human aspect of change. And I just thought I'd add that, to augment it, to when we look at the metaverse and implementing it in change initiatives.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. And, I think somebody is commenting in the chat here that digital adoption platforms can play a critical role in measuring effectiveness of a change strategy. Yeah. And, I just wanted to say, Mary, you're absolutely right. That is something, I just want to bring up that comment here. Digital adoption platforms can play a critical role in measuring effectiveness of change strategies. So, if you look forward to the future, most probably digital adoption platforms are going to be pretty much a standardized way for people to start looking at gearing up for, if not implementing the actual change, but gearing up for the change, training people across the board. Those are the sort of real advantages of this, especially in the early parts of a change, right? And getting buy-in, we all know, right, that getting buy-in for changes is difficult and a lot of it is because people don't necessarily understand what the impact of that change is going to be to them. But these adoption platforms, that's why I just wanted to thank Mary for bringing this up right now. These platforms actually enable folks to understand the impact of what that change is going to be. What does this look like? What does this feel to me? What is the impact going to be? How am I going to benefit from this before any of that goes ahead? So if you've done your modeling correctly and you're doing this in a proper agile way, this is really, really helpful. So great advice there. Thanks, Tizya. I think we're going to move on, if you don't mind, because we've got quite a few questions to get through. The next question is for Nico. The remote and hybrid work models have become a kind of prevalent post-pandemic. How would you adapt change management to suit those? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, right?
Yeah, I think the topic of remote and hybrid models in many corporates are still open, Nigel, in terms of what they want to do with it as part of their engagement model, call it employee value proposition. And some organizations have already responded to it, which then means that you'll probably revert back to some of the conventional ways of doing stuff in a more physical context. However, or maybe before I even say that, when we also get people in a room sometimes to look at a problem and solve it, you cannot get better than that. Where people are physically in a room, look at the issues, and see what's the best way to solve and get through them. But having said that, also over the last few years, we saw the value of hybrid working solutions where, sometimes you have teams that are sitting across the world. So you don't necessarily want to bring them into in countries. So that in itself needs to be part of how you want to engage. And where you also need to get the teams together very quickly. It's a link that goes out versus the logistics of getting people into a room to try and also work through whatever needs to be solved for. Then I guess at the end of the day, I think there's an opportunity to do change management from the perspective of hybrid solutions where you have reach, you have convenience, and you still have the opportunity to create impact. We saw that in many other use cases where, whether it's delivering projects, whether it's delivering content, those channels have significantly added value in how people could be reached. So there's definitely, I think, a benefit with regards to that. And for me, the world going forward will continue to harvest that and evolve that. My view is we're likely not to revert to what we ever had before, but we will continuously have more of what we currently have in a better way from what for what we currently see today. So I think massive opportunity, and we need to continue to evolve that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I look at it in various different ways. So the hybrid working world, I think, has become the norm for many companies nowadays. So if you take a look at us, I mean, what we're doing here, in the old days, we used to go to a conference, right? And the only people we would meet would be the ones at the conference. And that was a very limited audience of folks that you could actually talk to. So what we did is during the pandemic, we came up with this idea of starting to stream out content. Nothing new. Everybody's been doing that for ages, right? But I think it's the format that makes the difference. So, if you look at the Level Up show that we run every Monday and every Friday, we are providing content to people that really need that content as a learning resource. And that learning resource now gives you access to answers to over about 2,600 questions, which are really, really invaluable. And those answers, more importantly, are coming from experts who are often on 4 or 5 different continents during each show, all around the world. And just this show today, I mean, we wouldn't be able to get access to this kind of content about what this is, the future of change management, if we didn't put in place a digital platform that allowed us to do just this. So the change, I think that the changes coming are going to be more and more and more, and I think that coming back to the previous question, the metaverse, and augmented reality is probably the next step in helping people to adjust to change, to understand change, and to I would say, lead change and be change agents much more readily than they are today. So very interesting.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, I think let's move on to our next question. Because we have got quite a few. So this question to say is for you. Is there a future for augmented reality? I mean, do you have any ideas on how we could embrace it?
Absolutely. I think it has a definite promising future. I mean, if we look at augmented reality, the technology has made huge significant strides in various industries and applications. So I think the benefits, if we just, once again, I'm going to mention education and training, how people sometimes process information. If you give somebody a textbook or a book or a guide, they're going to look at it and go, oh, there's 550 pages. How am I going to learn anything out of this? But if you give them an augmented reality 3D model, which actually brings that book or guide to life, they're actually going to immerse themselves because it's a little bit more practical. And, if you think of medicine, engineering, operations, maintenance, definitely. I think there's a definite future, even in retail and e-commerce, because, I think they're doing it today, providing immersive shopping experiences. So if you want to go and buy a couch, you don't have to, you can literally have it in your lounge using an augmented reality app, and you can see what it's going to look like in your lounge. You don't have to go to the shop to try and visualize how that couch is going to look like in your lounge, just as an example. Even marketing and advertising. If you want to do interactive, engaging advertising campaigns, you can have augmented reality applications and filters that creates interactive brand experiences, whatever that brand is, allowing your customers to then engage with those products. So I think from a change management perspective, you're letting your employees, staff, colleagues, once they engage in something interactively, they'll embrace using that tool or learning that new concept more readily. And that's from my side.
Perfect. And I think you're absolutely right as well, by the way. And I love those apps, by the way, just for fun. Let's go and fit that couch in your room and see if it really looks good.
I love it.
But, absolutely. It is. They're great. But, really, those are the kind of tools that are evolving at such a pace with the, I would say, the rapid adoption of artificial intelligence. The data points can be mapped out so quickly that we can now put a couch in a 3D room. If you scan your room with your phone, using an app, and we can tell what it looks like. I mean, the other ones for painting your house, the same thing. You literally hold your phone up at the house and choose the color you want. It paints the wall for you. Yeah, that's what my house will look like in that color. So these kind of things are absolutely going to be used in the future for changes. And those digital platforms that are available today are going forward in leaps and bounds. Okay? I think that we're probably, if not already there, we are almost there to see those in the normal change management space. So, okay, thank you. Let's jump forward to our next question, if you don't mind. Nico, this one's for you. Do you think that there's going to be an opportunity to introduce the metaverse and augmented reality into change sectors or change initiatives in the financial sector?
Before I answer, Nigel, it takes me back to when we did actually paint the house. In those years, you had 3-4 colors, painted a few marks on the walls, left it there for a week, and then you had to figure out which one makes sense. Yeah. I know I sound like a bit of a dinosaur, but I guess that's how we used to do it.
It's true.
back onto your question. So, is there an opportunity? I think absolutely there is. I guess my view has always been it depends on what you want to solve for. Be very clear on what is the problem statement, what you want to solve for, and how do you bring that in to enable the organization strategy. It's a principal thing, and I think it works quite well because you'll continue to see new technologies that hits the market. So if you think about the emerging technologies that we refer to, the metaverse, augmented reality, virtual reality, those are in some way or form still very experimental, and we follow the trends as they come along. And I sit in many industries, retail banking most definitely as part of that as well. And you see also, or you foresee already many opportunities where they could play a role in terms of how do we. If I had to take a stab at it from what we currently see, and while just to acknowledge again, I think a lot of this is still being defined. There's many use cases that comes to mind, from changing customer experience to sales and marketing, to how you look at revenue models, and then the obvious one, every angle of digital transformation has the opportunity to be completely transformed as a result of how you would apply it. If I think about my view within a banking context, I think there's massive opportunity for immerse and personalized customer experience when you do apply it, and we also see how customers are more likely to want to engage with banking in that particular context when they start to feel more comfortable with these technologies and their ability to also adopt them. If I also make it very practical, if you look at the organization and where there's touch points, it really looks like there's opportunity for change and applying this. Typically sits in areas like account opening. I think there's a massive opportunity in how you would open up new accounts and onboard customers. And then the other one would be credit applications. How would you apply for credit, make it as simple and easy as possible, and using these types of technologies to be able to do that. Many customers do join organizations where they have the opportunity to also take on more credit. So why not make it part of that use case?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm envisaging walking into an augmented reality room where the bank lends me a lot of money and I can see my house disappearing down. No, but
the loan disappears, yes. The value grows of the property.
Right. There you go. Perfect. Sorted. No, and I think that a lot of that stuff makes sense, right? When you think about it, the applications are limitless. Yeah, you're quite right. Account opening, which used to be a fairly painful procedure, could be simplified enormously using augmented reality or the metaverse. So that is definitely an opportunity for it. But you know what? What's really critical about the enablement of all of these is solid infrastructure. And 3 years ago, it probably wouldn't have even been possible, probably not even to do what we're doing now in terms of solid streaming, right? Without having the infrastructure backbone in IT infrastructure, I'm talking about backbone here, to be able to do this. Okay. So it's very, very critical that is in place. Okay, the live questions are stacking up. So I think, folks, if you don't mind, we're just going to go straight on to the next one. This question, Tizya, is for you. Why are change management initiatives so important in the adoption of AI tools and the impact AI is having on its employees? So this is an important one.
Absolutely, Nigel. So as mentioned before, the word AI has been used the most, and it's even been listed in the Oxford Dictionary, has been used the most in 2023. But artificial intelligence has been around since the 1950s with the penning the term was Alan Turing. But if we look at how it impacts employees, if we look at reskilling and upskilling, AI tools and the adoption of certain AI tools often requires employees to, acquire new skills or enhance the existing ones, which makes things a little bit scary because it's something new. And if we look at change management and change management initiatives, we can ensure that employees are supported through this process, guided through this process to say, what, artificial intelligence is not here. We're not going to put a bot in your seat to take over your job. And I think that's the biggest misconception that's out there is, AI is going to take our jobs. We now going to, be redundant. Not at all. It's really just introducing the use of new tools to make your job more effective, to streamline the processes that you need to follow, to open up time for you to do more important things in your particular job role. So it's really just getting people comfortable with whatever technology or tools you're introducing into the organization. And change management guides you through this process. If you take your employees through this process to say, we're actually helping you to understand the tools better, use the tools better, and be more effective at your job.
Fantastic.
And yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks to say, I agree with you there. AI is becoming so critical, and you're right. It is probably the most used set or acronym, in 2023, and will continue to be for quite a while. Aside from all the ethical and challenges that we have,
yes,
I think the positive side of it is that it does enable us to do quite a bit more than we used to be able to do. And we have, should we say, examples of organizations using AI in change management already. Okay? And they're using them to take out some of what we would call the grunt work in a change initiative.
Yes.
So, it's happening already and it's there. So, probably a good idea to investigate how you could possibly make use of it. And, it's an opportunity to have a chat to the folks at APMG and NetCampus in the future about how to do this. Okay, we're going to move on because, very briefly, yeah.
No, just to give an example to everybody. I mean, if you look at project management, of course, decisions are made on data, but I mean, you can generate your risk register using artificial intelligence tools as long as you have the data, and that's happening already.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is, for sure. Okay, we're just going to move on to the next one, if you don't mind. And this one plays straight into that one to say for you. How can change management play a role in promoting cybersecure organizational culture? Because this is also the next step, right? Really important.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we look at cybersecurity, threats to an organization are becoming more and more and more sophisticated each day. I mean, probably in the last 24 hours, a company somewhere in the world would have encountered some new type of threat. And the threats are never the same. So, I mean, I know I used to be one of the guilty parties generating a password or creating a password. I'd use one of my pet's names. And there are people doing that. And it's not because of being, indifferent. It's just, okay, we've got to make up a password. They said we must make up a complex password. I'm going to use my dog's name. However, that is human behavior. And if we look at introducing cultural change, cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue anymore. The onus is on everybody in the organization to be cyber aware. So what we can do in this instance is create awareness and training programs to present comprehensive cybersecurity awareness sessions. This should be ongoing. It shouldn't just be once a year or once every 5 years. I would also say, create customized training programs or sessions for different employees or different employee departments. And very importantly, keep your employees updated in the changes in terms of cyber attacks. And lastly, something that really works well is run simulated phishing attacks so that you can monitor your employees' behavior. Are they really aware of the different types of attacks that are encountered? So you can test your employees' ability to actually recognize and respond to those phishing attempts. And that we need to improve and bring in introduce those changes gradually so that people are aware it's not just an IT issue. We all need to be cyber aware.
Very good points. I'm sure ABSA, Nico, has a huge program around this as well, as even we do in APMG. But it's a very, very important element. And change management, you're right, it is about human behavior, trying to change human behavior to make sure that those behaviors are correct for the safety and security of both the individual and the organization is where effective change management can play a big role. So, okay, guys, I'm going to move on swiftly because we are running out of time and we have a couple of questions to get through still. Nico, a question for you. How would you adapt change management strategies to accommodate varying cultural norms across diverse and inclusive organizations? I mean, you must have experience with this in the banks right now.
Yeah, Nigel. So first of all, I think you have to adapt. That's the first and the easy part of the answer, and the obvious one is then the how part. So when you look at delivering complex solutions, I think we've mentioned it earlier on. A lot of the expertise are not sitting in countries. So the reality is your high-performing teams will come from multiple countries, wherever the talent and the expertise is from. And I guess for me, people change management plays a massive role. First of all, making sure that we are at least sensitive and we are aware with regards to different culture, different time zones. Um, people don't have the same first language. You need to appreciate that as well, and different backgrounds. So all of that comes into play. What you at least need to acknowledge and be sensitive towards in terms of how you do change management. For me, the people change manager or the expert that is in that context helps us to sometimes also build out these high performing teams, making sure stuff is connected, people are connected, and we have teams that feels that they're part of something bigger and objectives that are shared. That's a massive focus for us. And then I think lastly also, how do we apply the expertise when it actually comes to delivering products and services via frontlines? It's so important to make sure that frontline colleagues are comfortable and confident when new products and services are available, and they have the ability to also talk to customers about them. So I guess for me, that's why it's important, and it'll continue to be. And how we think about delivering change, our awareness with regards to cultural differences and diversity, how to be inclusive of teams that are changing, delivering change through their initiatives, as well as how do we make sure that the organization is actually ready to be able to transmit this from frontline colleagues into the markets. So key focus. We're sometimes so obsessed about some of the technical processes that we forget about the people as part of that. And at the end of the day, if you don't take them along the journey, that actually will fall flat. That's just how it is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Nico. I appreciate that. Nico, I'm just going to stay with you because our next question is also for you. The next question, is it possible to design change management strategies that truly accommodate the need for organizational agility?
I think it is. I guess it all depends on your appetite to be able to drive change and transformation at pace. My view is change management and the delivery thereof should be a continuous effort, which means that setting up a capability that has a permanent structure, fixed resources, fixed skills, therefore fixed capacity, and also fixed cost and budgets. I guess if you get through those basics, and I want to refer to them possibly as hygiene items, you're probably far better off from what you've been before. I guess for me, the opportunity to deliver change means that you are creating a factory of specialists and capacity that can drive change delivery based on priorities of what the organization gives them. It takes us a little bit away from I think conventional methodologies where it's stop-start of projects versus the continuous delivering of change initiatives that will run through a type of factory line that has the ability to continuously impact the market, customers, etc. My last point on that would be part of that transformation, which I believe is possible, driven by organizational change for appetite. Appetite for change, is solving for customer needs and wants with smaller propositions or MVPs that can go live quicker, get them to the market, get some benefits from that, and then look at how customers respond and adding more features to them that you think make sense. That for me is how you want to make sure a strategy actually has an opportunity to evolve and your impact to create change and value into the organization and its market is supported by it.
Fantastic. Such solid answers here. I really appreciate it from both of you. So I think, we've actually got a couple of live questions that we need to take as well. So I'm going to go to our first live question. And this question is from Alexander Prosek. Alexander says, change management now combines many areas and has increasingly become an abstract term. In my experience, this term is increasingly met with rejection. I now favor the terms transformation, evolution, or further development. Do you share my view? So I think just to answer that from my perspective, while Tizya and Nico think about this, yeah, I agree to a certain extent, Alexander, that the term change management is met with rejection sometimes, and I think that there are many reasons for that. Some of them are not really positive. And I think that some of them are not positive because of the way in which change management was being implemented, which has always been in the past, historically, here's a framework, here's what you must do, right? The framework says that, the book says that. And pragmatism and common sense have never been applied that well to it, okay? So that is often, unfortunately, has led to this situation where, the term change management is not being met with the favorable or should we say reception that it should be. That isn't the case everywhere in the world, though, let's be fair. It's definitely not. But Tizya, I'll come to you first. What do you think about this?
I do agree with that statement. And yes, Nigel, I do agree with you because, as you said, you can introduce somebody with a framework, but a framework at the end of the day is actually just a guideline. You still need to tailor that guideline to suit the needs of your organization. So your change initiatives should also be tailored to take your organizational culture into perspective, looking at people's behaviors, and also how to slowly or gradually then change those behaviors. And I think I absolutely agree with your first statement. Here's a book, here's a framework, let's follow it, but it should be tailored gradually.
Agreed. Completely agree. Nico, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think it's important to appreciate the context in which you are operating to be able to also see, where there's resistance and not. And sometimes there is a bit of history or legacy that sits there where, some stuff was done and there was a label on it and it didn't go well and now it's associated with it. And you do sometimes want to break away from that in its own way that you think helps you to move forward. And then I guess at the end of the day, for me, it becomes about outcomes. What are the outcomes that you're aiming to achieve? And are we aligned with regard to those outcomes? And if that's the case, I guess you have a bit of alignment and runway to be able to move the stuff forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In my experience, look, change management as a concept from my experience, has been very, very well embraced. And if you look around, there are more change management positions now worldwide than there ever have been in the past. Okay, and I think it's to the magnitude of about 100-fold compared to 3 years ago. If you looked for a change manager, it was a part-time position. In other words, it was a little bit of somebody's day job, which, as we all know, never ever works. So to actually get a job as a full-time change manager back then, 3-4 years ago, and we're talking about not a long time back, it was a very difficult thing. Now, change manager is a very much a well-established role within most organizations, and most people who are actually involved in PMOs, project management officers, portfolios, they now understand that effective change management leads to a far, far higher success rate in their project. So it's become a focus area of many organizations to have a proper change management capability. And of course, if not a change management office, then at least 1 or 2 change managers and some change agents in place to make sure that those projects and programs that they're investing in so heavily actually get delivered on time, on budget, and of course the benefits are realized, which is very, very critical. So I think that the term transformation, though, and evolution, they spell more to me around the business relationship management role, which, if you think about it, is almost rolling into a change manager's role as well. The business relationship managers are very much involved in the evolution of the organization, the evolution of the transformation of whatever initiatives you might be experiencing, and the development of the relationships between customers, suppliers, departments, and so on. So I think there could be an element of both in there. So interesting. Okay, I think we have time for just one more question very briefly. So this one's from Jarira, and they ask, how effective are virtual war rooms versus physical war rooms in problem resolution? Did organizations make profits through the use of hybrid working models? So this is an interesting question. So is a virtual war room, as effective as a physical war room? Yeah, this is an interesting one. Are profits still being made now through a hybrid working model? Is it better? Is it worse? Well, without divulging all of that, I think there's some trade secrets in there that we don't want to divulge. But Nico, I'm going to come to you because you've had quite a bit of experience in the hybrid work environment with this first. So what are your thoughts here?
I must be honest with you. I can still remember the time when I had a war room in our office in Johannesburg, and we could only get so far. We had some cultural disconnections. There was language issues. Just exactly my previous example. I got into a plane, went into India, sat there for a month, and we solved the issues, and we moved the whole war room. And we had like a deal on Johannesburg and India. It brings back some good memories. The question about virtual war rooms versus physical war rooms. I think there's pros and cons with both. I really believe that both are very effective, and it depends on the type of initiative that you are solving for. Again, large complex one, the teams that are sitting across the world, virtual war rooms just make sense, but you need to be very, very deliberate in how you want to manage them and making sure that they are just as effective as a physical one. If you have the opportunity where it's in-country teams, they are locally connected around geographically, that they're easy to connect with, I would probably then propose a physical war room where it makes sense, where people can walk into it, have some connection, and look at the problems and solve them specifically. So that for me is probably where you want to consider which one you would go for when you set up your solution delivery plan. Making profits through the use of hybrid working models, that one is a bit broad. I guess, you could go anywhere with that. At the end of the day, I think organizations would want to invest where they see value, not only for customers, but also for their colleagues or employees in terms of how to enable them as best as possible to achieve their objectives.
Agreed. Totally agree, Nico. Thank you. Tizya, do you have any comments on this one?
I'm just actually this jogged a little memory with me in terms of, okay, it wasn't a war room, it was actually a team building in the pandemic. And somebody said, well, can you really do a virtual team building? Is it as effective as a physical team building? Well, if it's planned properly and you state your goals and objectives, it absolutely works. And it's sometimes more effective than being physically in the room. And yeah, we had huge success with a virtual team build. It really, I still remember everybody being dressed up for that event. But I do believe it really, as Nico says, it's dependent on the situation and the actual problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So just a couple of examples on that. Prior to the pandemic, if you could get somebody onto a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting, or any meeting virtually for that matter, to actually put their camera on and unmute themselves, it was rare, right? So you always had two or three of the same folks who had their camera on and were just talking, and they became the dominant parties in any discussion, whether it be in a war room meeting, setting or whatever it might be, right? With the change of culture since post-pandemic and remote and hybrid working coming in, now the cultural organizational change that's been required to be effective in this new modern world, I think has enabled virtual rooms and virtual war rooms to become more effective. And as you say, planning it is very, very important. Okay? Making use of the tools that are available, because there are a lot of tools available that are built in nowadays to a lot of the of the virtual event platforms that we use on a daily basis. Polling, virtual whiteboards, all of these kind of things that are basic things. And there's way more advanced stuff than that available now as well. So yes, I believe it can very much be, as effective. I don't think we can really ask about or answer the profitability question. Although what I would say is that hybrid working models are generally more profitable from the sense that you don't have as much travel costs. So quite simple, You're flying people around the world or even around the country. It can get quite expensive with Ubers, car hires, hotels, and flights. Whereas a good solid internet connection and some planning can deliver the same, if not better, results. So, right. Unfortunately, everybody, we have actually reached the end of our time today in terms of taking questions. But what I'd like to do very briefly is I'd just like to do a quick wrap up with our panelists. So, Nico, I'd like to start with you for your closing comments, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Nigel. So I guess if I had to quickly reflect a little bit to the conversation, the topics that we went through, this is one of the most exciting areas to work in from a career perspective. So if you had to pick something and you like change, you like dynamic stuff, this is it. From the metaverse to AI to machine learning and deep learning that we didn't go through. There is a massive amount of technology options that are currently available, and that is evolving. And I think there's an opportunity for us to keep on talking. So keep the network connected. Let's keep on learning from each other, and let's keep on sharing. So I really enjoyed the conversation. I really appreciate the invite. So thank you very much.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, Nico. Appreciate it. Tizya, would you like to add your closing comments?
Yes, absolutely. I think that, also based on the show and the topics that we also discussed, I think everybody should really look into the metaverse and look at tools, how to make their lives easier, how to get the employees to embrace change and not resist changes. But yes, if you have more questions, please reach out to me. We also have fantastic training sessions at NetCampus for Change Management Foundation and Practitioner. And something else that's also quite close to my heart that I'd like to tell everybody about is there's a really beautiful government-sponsored initiative called the Kagisano Labour Program. We are getting over 4,000 graduates to do various streams. In fact, one of the streams is project management and change management, and getting them employed within the next three years. Because I think even globally, the unemployment rate is high. It's not just limited to South Africa. So if anybody on this particular session, whether you're sitting in whichever country and you actually would like to take one of our graduates, please do reach out to me for that. And thank you for joining the show.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tizya. And I just wanted to mention quickly, just on screen is a QR code. If you would like to find out more about change management or need some consulting advice, please feel free to reach out to Tizya. Just scan the QR code. There's a no cost, no obligation consultation one-to-one with Tizya available at any time. And that'll take you to a little booking page. It'll let you fill in your details, and she will contact you at a time that suits you both. So please go ahead and do that, NetCampus. So first, I'd just like to thank both NetCampus and ABSA Bank and Tizya and Nico personally to taking the time to come and do this event today. We really appreciate it as APMG, and I know that all of the viewers out there, and there have been a lot of them today in this event, have really appreciated it as well. So thank you very much. And to everybody out there watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to watch more videos, please feel free to subscribe to the APMG channel. So if you take a look, I just want to close off now to take a look at what's upcoming in the upcoming shows. We've got a couple of really exciting things coming up this week as well. So in fact, today is the UK BRM week. So if you wanted to have a look at that, just go and look at that. The details are all on our website. Friday, the 10th of November, this coming Friday, we have a nice, interesting level up session on how to become a NIST cybersecurity professional. That promises to be a very interesting session. And on Wednesday, the 15th of November, we have a We Love Praxis Framework webinar. Now, that's all about the Praxis Project Management Framework. That's a not to be missed event as well. It promises to be a lot of fun too. So please feel free to go and have a look at that one. Details again on our website. So have a look there. So also over on our website, you can search for answers to over 2,500 questions now. It's a huge, comprehensive free resource connecting you with over 260 experts from around the world. And list about everything is available in an audio version as well. So take a moment, if you don't mind, to like, comment, and share. Subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help folks discover new content. So enjoy, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you on the next show. And thank you very much for watching today.